planet was broken, its skies filled with smoke and ash, its surface littered with burning wreckage from the last battle. Cries of pain had long gone silent, leaving only the sound of fire crackling and metal groaning under its own weight. In the middle of this destruction, hidden beneath collapsed stone and twisted steel, a small alien girl lay still. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow, and her large eyes stared up at the ruined sky above her. She was weak, starving, and nearly forgotten. Her people had left her behind. They called her cursed. They said she was useless, and in the rush to escape they abandoned her. She had no family now, no protector, only emptiness in her heart. The girl closed her eyes, her lips trembling as she whispered a single word, a word she barely understood herself. Mom. The whisper was so faint it should have been lost in the smoke. But somewhere above the ruined land, drifting in a small human exploration ship, Commander Ryan froze. His earpiece caught the sound. It was soft, broken, almost impossible. He adjusted the receiver, his brow furrowed. Did I just hear a voice? He muttered. Ryan had come here only to survey the battlefield. His orders were simple: collect data, avoid contact, return to base. But that whisper was not static. It was not an echo. It was real. And in that moment, against his better judgment, curiosity pushed him deeper into danger. He brought his ship lower, scanning the ruins with trembling hands. The wreckage below gave no sign of life. The scanners reported nothing. No heat signatures. No energy. Yet the whisper came again. Weaker. This time, Mom. His heart clenched. That voice did not sound like a soldier or a trap. It sounded like a child. His instincts screamed at him to leave. But another voice inside him, a softer one, refused. He had seen enough battles to know cruelty. He had seen enough to know when someone was in need. Ryan guided the ship closer and activated his exosuit. The heavy boots touched the ground with a dull thud. Dust rose around him as he walked through the wreckage. His visor scanned every shadow, every broken wall. The silence was heavy, oppressive, but he kept moving toward where the signal had first appeared. Under a pile of stone, he heard the faintest cough. He rushed forward, pushing debris aside. His gloved hands scraped against sharp metal, sparks flying. At last, beneath a beam, he saw her. The girl was so small, her body trembling. Her alien features were delicate, her hair tangled with dust and blood. Her lips were cracked. Her eyes, too large for her face, flickered with the dimmest light. For a moment, Ryan froze. He had never seen her kind so young. She should have been with her people. But the truth was plain. She had been abandoned, left to die. The girl stared at him through the haze of her half-closed eyes. Her lips moved again, her voice was broken, but the word escaped once more. Mom. Ryan felt his chest tighten. His suit's voice filter might have confused her. It softened his voice, made it less harsh. Maybe that was why she thought he was her mother. Or maybe in her weakness, she was only calling for someone who would protect her. His mind raced. This was forbidden. He was not supposed to interfere. Humans had rules about this. Never involve yourself in alien matters. Never bring their young aboard. Never get attached. But how could he walk away? He bent down and carefully lifted the beam from her fragile body. She whimpered in pain but did not cry. Her tears were long gone, dried up from suffering. Ryan gently lifted her into his arms. Her body was light, too light, as if she had not eaten in days. Don't worry, he whispered, though he knew she couldn't understand his language. I've got you. Her head rested against his chest plate. Her breathing was weak, but she clung to the warmth of his arms as though she feared he would vanish like the others. Above them, thunder rumbled. The wreckage shifted dangerously. Ryan activated his thrusters and carried her back to the ship. He could feel the weight of his choice already pressing down on him. This was not his mission. This was not allowed, but as the girl whispered again, softer than before, Mom, he knew he could not leave her. Inside the ship, he placed her gently on the medical bed. The ship's AI scanned her condition. Critical signs flashed across the screen. Starvation, dehydration, multiple injuries. She would not last long without care. Ryan clenched his jaw. He had no idea what kind of alien physiology she had. He did not know if his medicine would even help. But he could not just watch her fade. His hands shook as he began treatment. Every second felt like a battle against time. As he worked, he kept hearing her broken whisper echo in his helmet. Mom. Ryan did not know what this girl had suffered. He did not know why her people had abandoned her. But he knew one thing. She had reached out to the stars with a single desperate word. And against all odds, a human had answered. And in that moment, her fate, and his, changed forever. The hum of the ship's engines filled the silence. Ryan stood over the small alien girl, watching her shallow breaths. Her body was fragile, her skin pale like the fading light of a dying star. The medical scanner beeped with warnings, numbers, flashing red, dehydration, malnutrition, multiple fractures. She had been abandoned too long, left with nothing but dust and fear. He reached for a pack of emergency nutrient gel, carefully pressing it to her lips. At first she did not move, her eyes fluttered weakly. Then, with trembling effort, she swallowed. A faint sound escaped her throat, not words, only a soft whimper. But it was proof she was still fighting to live. Easy, Ryan whispered, adjusting the feeding tube. His voice was calm, steady, though inside his chest his heart pounded. He had rescued soldiers before, men and women covered in burns and wounds, but never had he felt this same weight. This was not a soldier, this was a child. Her fingers twitched as if reaching for something unseen. Slowly, her lips parted again. A cracked whisper came out. Mom. Ryan froze. The word pierced through his armor like a blade. It was the same sound he had heard in the ruins, the sound that had drawn him here. He leaned closer, wondering if she truly saw him as her mother, or if it was simply the last word her heart clung to. No, he said softly, his hand tightening into a fist. Not your mom, but I won't leave you. Her head shifted slightly, her large alien eyes opening just enough to reveal a faint glow within them. For a moment she seemed to study his face through the clear visor. Then her lips curved into the faintest expression. Not a smile. Not quite, but something close to trust. Ryan turned away, trying to steady his mind. The rules echoed in his head. The Galactic Council had made it clear. Humans were not to interfere with alien matters. Any violation meant punishment. Exile, even worse. Yet here he was, standing over a fragile girl who had been left to die. He walked to the ship's console, running scans of the area. The battlefield outside was quiet. Too quiet. But his instincts warned him. Abandoned did not always mean forgotten. If her people had left her behind, they might return, not for her sake, but to erase evidence, to silence witnesses. The scanner. Pulsed, a faint signal appeared on the edge of the atmosphere. His jaw tightened. A patrol ship, alien design, sweeping low across the horizon. Ryan cursed under his breath. They're already searching. He switched to stealth mode, the ship's lights dimming, power lowering to half. He knew his vessel could hide from casual scans, but if they got too close, they would sense his heat signature. He had to decide, stay and risk discovery or leave with the girl. Behind him, the girl stirred. Her weak voice pulled him back. Mom, safe? The words were broken, but Ryan understood. She was not asking for food or water, she was asking if she was safe. His throat tightened. He turned back and knelt beside her. Yes, he said, though it was half a lie. You're safe now. Her hand, small and trembling, brushed against his armored glove. It was a fragile gesture, yet it carried more weight than any medal he had ever received. She did not know his name, she did not know his species, but she trusted him, and that trust bound him in a way no council law could break. Minutes passed in silence. Ryan worked carefully to stabilize her breathing, wrapping her wounds with med patches. Every time her eyes flickered open, they sought him, as though making sure he was still there. He answered with a nod, reassuring her without words, but his mind was restless. Why had her people left her behind? Why was she abandoned on a battlefield where death waited in every corner? He remembered the look in her eyes, half hope, half sorrow, as if she already knew she was unwanted. The ship's AI interrupted his thoughts. "Warning, Commander. Incoming signal. Hostile fleet approaching sector perimeter." Ryan stiffened. The alien patrol was not alone. A larger fleet was moving toward the planet. He didn't know if they were searching for survivors or cleaning up evidence, but one thing was certain. If they discovered his ship, both he and the girl were finished. He strapped into the pilot's chair, hands gripping the controls. His gaze drifted back to the medical bed. The girl's breathing had steadied slightly. Her eyes were closed now, trusting him completely. Ryan exhaled slowly. "I can't leave you." "Not now." His ship's engines roared to life, lifting them off the ruined ground. The wreckage of the battlefield shrank below. The smoke and ash became distant shadows, yet as they rose higher, the danger grew clearer. Alien ships scanning, the skies searching with cold precision. Ryan maneuvered into the cover of an asteroid belt near the planet's orbit, his ship's hull scraping against rocks as he squeezed into the shadows. He powered down again, hiding, waiting. His heart pounded with every passing second. Inside the cabin, the girl stirred once more. Her weak voice broke the silence. "Mom, stay." Ryan closed his eyes. He should have corrected her. He should have told her the truth, but the word was not just a mistake anymore. In her voice, it carried something more. A plea, a hope, a desperate need for someone not to vanish. "I'll stay," he whispered, his voice steady this time. "I'm not leaving you." And in that dark, silent ship surrounded by enemies, Commander Ryan made a promise that would change both their fates. He had answered a whisper in the ruins, and now he was bound to it. The voice of a dying child had found him, and he had become her only light in the darkness. The ship floated silently in the asteroid belt, hidden between shadows of rock and drifting ice. Commander Ryan sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes fixed on the radar. Red signals blinked, enemy ships patrolling the area, sweeping every corner of space, searching for survivors. His hands gripped the controls tightly, but his mind was not on the radar. His mind was on the small figure lying weak on the medical bed behind him. The alien girl's breathing was shallow, but steady. Each time the scanner beeped, Ryan looked back, afraid the sound would fade. She was too fragile, too weak, yet still alive. And she had called him something he could not forget. "Mom." He leaned back in the chair, closing his eyes for a moment. "What am I doing?" he asked himself. He was breaking every law. Humans were not allowed to rescue abandoned aliens. It was forbidden. The Galactic Council had rules, harsh rules. Do not interfere with alien societies. Do not adopt. Do not interfere. Yet here he was, hiding in an asteroid belt with a child who was never meant to live. His chest tightened. He remembered the way she had looked at him, not with fear, but with hope. She had been left to die, abandoned like broken equipment, discarded like trash. But when she saw him, she reached out. She trusted him. He could still hear her whisper, "Mom, safe?" The decision weighed on him like a mountain. He could leave her on the next neutral station, hand her over to the council, and wash his hands of this. That was the safe choice, the legal choice. But even imagining it made his stomach twist. He had seen how the council dealt with unwanted beings. They would erase her existence and no one would remember her. Ryan rose from the chair and walked slowly toward the medical bed. The girl stirred, her eyes half opening. Her lips moved weakly. She spoke in her own tongue this time, words Ryan couldn't understand, but her tone was clear. She was pleading. She was afraid. He knelt beside her, brushing dust from her tangled hair with his gloved hand. "I know," he whispered, though she couldn't understand. "I know you don't want to be alone." Her small hand trembled, reaching out. Ryan hesitated, then gently held it. Her fingers were cold but tightened weakly around his. That single gesture crushed every doubt inside him. He had already made his choice. "I won't abandon you," he said, his voice firm now. Not like they did. The ship's AI broke the moment. Warning, Commander. Enemy ship approaching asteroid sector. Ryan's eyes snapped to the radar. A patrol ship was moving closer, scanning rocks one by one. He cursed under his breath. His stealth systems could hold, but not for long. He needed to act. Prepare. Jump coordinates, Ryan ordered. His voice was sharp, but his mind was clear now. He wasn't just escaping with data anymore. He was escaping with a life. A fragile life the galaxy wanted to erase. The engines hummed softly as coordinates, locked in. But before Ryan engaged the jump, he glanced back one last time. The girl was watching him through half-closed eyes. Her lips parted. The same word slipped out again, broken but filled with desperate need. Mom, he almost laughed bitterly. Not Mom, he said softly. But maybe something close. The ship roared as the engines fired. A burst of light carried them out of the asteroid belt, past enemy scanners, and into the cold stretch of deep space. The stars streaked around them, but danger was not left behind. Ryan knew they would be tracked. The aliens would not rest. If they discovered he had taken her, they would come with full force. Hours passed in silence as the ship cruised through. Empty space. Ryan checked her vitals again and again, adjusting medicine, whispering words of comfort, though she barely understood. She responded only with faint sounds, weak smiles, or the tightening of her small hand around his glove. Finally, she gathered enough strength to whisper in her own language again. This time, Ryan recorded it, running it through the AI's translator. The screen flickered with text. Abandoned. Cursed. Not wanted. Ryan's jaw clenched. His suspicions were true. Her people had not lost her. They had chosen to leave her. Chosen to let her die. The anger inside him burned. He had fought many wars, but this cruelty felt sharper than any enemy. Blade. He looked down at her fragile form and whispered, Not cursed, not unwanted, not while I'm here. The AI interrupted again. Commander, long-range scans detect alien fleet accelerating toward our last location. Estimated pursuit vector. This ship. Ryan exhaled slowly, staring at the stars ahead. His choice had consequences. By saving her, he had declared himself her protector. By keeping her, he had made himself her family. He could not turn back now. He had made a human's choice, not the safe one, not the legal one, but the right one. He sat beside her, his hand resting gently near hers. They'll come for us, he said softly, almost as if speaking to himself. But they'll have to go through me first. The girl's eyes flickered open again, and for the first time she whispered not just Mom, but another word, broken, faint, yet clear in the translator's log, safe. Ryan smiled faintly. His heart felt heavy, but stronger too. He had given her what no one else would, a promise, and in her weakest voice she had accepted it. The human and the abandoned child drifted into the stars together, danger chasing them, fate binding them. But Ryan no longer doubted his choice. He had taken responsibility for her life, and no law, no council, no enemy fleet could change that. The stars stretched like rivers of silver light as Ryan's ship cut through deep space. Behind him, the alien fleet hunted, their scanners searching, their engines burning across the void. The hum of his ship's systems was steady, but Ryan's heartbeat was not. It thudded in his chest like a drum, each beat reminding him of the danger closing in. He glanced back at the medical bed. The alien girl lay curled under a thermal blanket. Her eyes were closed, her breathing faint but steady. Even in sleep her lips moved softly, whispering that word again. Mom. It echoed in his mind, both a wound and a strength. He had no right to be called that, yet somehow she had given him that place in her heart. Ryan leaned forward in the pilot's chair, scanning the star map. He had to stay ahead of the fleet. But his ship was not built for war. It was an explorer's craft, fast but lightly armed. If the aliens caught up, he could not win in battle. His only hope was to outthink them, to hide in the vastness of space. The AI spoke in its cold voice. Commander, 3 enemy ships closing in from starboard side. Estimated contact in 7 minutes. Ryan cursed under his breath. He adjusted course, diving into a nebula ahead. The swirling clouds of ionized gas lit up the cockpit in hues of blue and purple. The nebula would disrupt scanners, maybe give him the cover he needed. But it was risky. Storms inside could tear his ship apart. The ship shuddered as they entered. Lightning-like arcs of energy cracked across the shields. Ryan gritted his teeth, holding the controls steady. Behind him, the girl stirred, her voice faint. Safe? Ryan glanced back. His voice softened, though tension filled every muscle. Yes, you're safe. I won't let them find you. The nebula storm raged outside. Alien ships hesitated at the edge, scanning, searching. Ryan powered down the engines, letting the ship drift silently within the glowing clouds. For long minutes, only the hum of life support filled the cabin. Ryan sat perfectly still, waiting, listening to the universe hold its breath. Then, a blip on the radar. One enemy ship had entered the nebula, sweeping its scanners slowly. The others waited outside, ready to strike if he fled. Ryan clenched his fists. They're not giving up. He activated minimal thrusters, drifting deeper into the storm. The enemy ship's beams cut through the gas. Passing dangerously close to his hull, he could feel the vibration as the scan brushed against his shields. His heart pounded, his hand hovered over the emergency jump switch, but he knew, if he jumped now, they would trace his path and they would not stop chasing. The girl's eyes opened weakly, glowing faintly in the dim light. She watched him with quiet trust. Her small voice broke the silence. Mom, strong. Ryan almost laughed, a bitter edge in his voice. I'll have to be. The enemy ship passed again, closer this time. Alarms flickered as the scan brushed deeper. Ryan shut down even the heating coils, plunging the cabin into cold silence. His breath fogged in the air. The girl shivered under the blanket. Ryan quickly placed another thermal wrap over her, whispering, Hold on, little one. Minutes stretched like hours. The enemy ship finally turned, scanning further into the nebula. Ryan exhaled slowly. His hands trembled, but he didn't move. Not yet, not until they were gone. At last the radar cleared. The alien ship withdrew, regrouping with its companions. They had lost interest. For now, Ryan's ship remained hidden in the storm, unseen. Ryan leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. Relief washed over him, but it was short-lived. He knew this was only the beginning. They would continue the chase across systems. They would not forgive him for taking what they had thrown away. He stood and walked back to the girl, kneeling, beside her bed. Her hand reached out, fragile but certain. He took it gently. Her fingers were cold, but held his tightly. She whispered again, not just Mom, but another faint word in her language. The translator flickered to life, displaying the meaning, protector. Ryan froze, staring at the screen. The word echoed in his chest, heavier than any metal, more powerful than any oath. She did not just see him as a mistaken parent. She saw him as her shield, her guardian, the only one who had not abandoned her. His jaw tightened. That's right, he whispered, his voice firm now. I'll protect you. Outside, lightning arced through the nebula, illuminating the darkness. Ryan knew he could not hide forever, but in that moment, with the girl's hand in his, he felt a new fire in his veins. He would face whatever came, not for orders, not for duty, but for her. The AI spoke again. Commander, alien fleet dispersing, scanning outer systems. They will continue pursuit. Ryan nodded. Then we'll stay ahead of them, always. He returned to the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the endless stars beyond. The chase was far from over, it had only just begun. But the human's choice was unshakable now. He would fight, he would run, he would defy the entire galaxy if needed, because in the ruins of war, he had heard a whisper. And in that whisper he had found a bond stronger than fear, stronger than law, stronger than fate itself. The nebula was behind them now, fading into a distant glow. Ryan's ship drifted quietly through deep space. The stars, stretching like frozen fires across the black. For the first time in hours, there were no red signals on the radar. No enemy blips, only silence. But Ryan knew the silence was temporary. The fleet was still searching spreading across sectors like a net, waiting to catch him and the fragile child who had become his responsibility. He leaned back in the pilot's chair, exhausted, but he could not rest. His eyes wandered to the medical bed where she lay. The alien girl was sleeping. Her chest rose and fell softly. Her small hand curled against the blanket. Each time her lips moved, Ryan leaned closer, listening, and there it was again, the whisper, the word that had haunted him since the ruins. Mom. But this time, she added another word in her own language, soft and broken. The ship's translator processed. It slowly flickering on the screen. At first, Ryan thought it was an error. Then the translation came clear. Protector. Mom. Ryan froze. The word was more than just a mistake. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't her mind failing. It carried meaning. In her tongue, the word was layered. It meant mother. Yes, but also guardian, savior, protector. It was a word that meant the one who stays when others leave, the one who shields when others abandon. He sank into the chair beside her bed, staring at her face. She was fragile, scarred, and yet in her weakest breath, she had given him a name that bound him. He was not her mother, but in her eyes he had become something far greater. His chest ached, his mind pulled between two truths. He was breaking every law by keeping her, but if he gave her up, he would break something much deeper inside himself. The girl stirred, her eyes flickering open. They glowed faintly in the dim light, searching for him. Her lips trembled. She whispered again in her native tongue. This time Ryan waited for the translator. Don't leave. Ryan reached out, gently holding her small hand in his. I won't, he said firmly. Not ever. Her gaze softened, and though her voice was weak, she whispered the human word she had clung to from the beginning. Mom. Ryan exhaled slowly. He had fought battles across planets, he had faced death more times than he could count, but nothing had ever pierced him the way that word did. It was not just a sound, it was a bond, and now he understood its true weight. He stood pacing the narrow cabin. His thoughts clashed like fire and ice. If her people called her cursed, if they had abandoned her, then why? What truth had they buried? What secret did she carry that was worth letting a child die for? Ryan returned to the console, pulling up the galactic archives. He hacked into restricted files, searching for records about her species, about abandoned offspring, about the word she whispered. The files were fragmented, censored by the council, but one entry remained. It told of children marked as defective, born weaker than the rest, seen as burdens. They were left behind after wars, discarded so the strong could survive. It was not a curse of magic. It was cruelty disguised as tradition. Ryan's fists clenched. He looked back at the girl. She was not cursed. She was innocent, discarded only because her people valued strength over compassion. They had left her with nothing but a single word, a word to call out for the one who would never abandon her, protect her. He whispered aloud, tasting the weight of it. That's what I am to you. The ship's AI broke his thoughts. Commander, long-range scans indicate alien fleet regrouping. Estimated interception path, within 12 hours. Ryan sighed, heavily. 12 hours before the chase began again. 12 hours to decide where to go. He pulled up the star map, searching for a safe haven. But the truth was bitter. There was none. Every port was watched. Every neutral station was filled. With spies, he turned back to the girl. Her eyes were closed again, her breathing slow, her trust in him complete. She believed he would keep her safe, and that belief was stronger than any weapon he had ever carried. Ryan sat back down beside her, speaking softly, though she was half asleep. They abandoned you, but I won't. You're not cursed, you're not unwanted, you're mine to protect now. Her small hand reached for his glove again, holding it with what little strength she had. A faint smile touched her lips and she whispered, not mom this time, but another word from her tongue. The translator flickered. Home. Ryan felt his throat tighten. A single tear slipped from his eye before he could stop it. In that one word, she had told him everything. To her, he was not just protector, not just savior, but the first place she had felt safe, the first she had felt wanted. And in that moment, Ryan knew the truth. The whisper was not only about who she wanted, it was about what she had been searching for her entire short life. A place, a bond, a promise that someone would never leave. He leaned down, his voice steady and sure. "You're home now." The stars outside stretched endlessly, danger closing in, but Ryan no longer felt the same fear. For the first time since the war ended, he felt purpose. He was not just running anymore. He was building something. A future, a promise, a truth hidden in a whisper. The hours passed like slow-burning candles. Ryan's ship cut through space with silent determination. The alien girl rested in the medbed, her small frame wrapped in blankets, her chest rising and falling with weak but steady breaths. Ryan sat in the pilot's chair, his eyes fixed on the glowing star map. Every blinking light was a possible threat. Every shadow of space another trap. He had spent years obeying orders, following rules, living under the shadow of the Galactic Council. But tonight, as the ship carried him and the fragile child deeper into forbidden space, he knew something inside him had changed. The Council demanded silence, they demanded obedience. But Ryan had seen the truth. Compassion was stronger than any law. The AI's voice broke the quiet. "Commander, enemy fleet detected. Estimated interception in 3 hours. Recommended action. Surrender the life form for safe passage." Ryan's jaw tightened. His fist slammed the console. "No," he growled. "They left her to die. I won't give her back to them." The AI paused before speaking again. "Non-compliance risks destruction of this vessel and termination of life forms on board." Ryan leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars. He had fought battles before. He had faced overwhelming odds. But this was different. He wasn't fighting for medals. He wasn't fighting for orders. He was fighting for a child who had no one else. He opened the comm system. His hands hovered over the controls. A thought burned inside him, dangerous but clear. If they want to hunt me, let them see the truth first. With a deep breath, he activated a transmission line to the galactic records, a channel no soldier dared to touch. His voice rang steady, broadcast across the stars. "This is Commander Ryan of the Human Exploration Corps," he began. His tone was sharp, but his heart hammered in his chest. "I am broadcasting not for orders, not for permission, but for truth." Behind him, the girl stirred. Her eyes blinked open. She looked toward him, fragile but aware. He gave her a small nod before continuing. "I found a child," Ryan said, his voice echoing across frequencies. "She was abandoned by her people on the battlefield, left to die with no food, no protection, no mercy. They called her cursed, they discarded her like broken metal." He uploaded the scans from his ship, images of her frail body, her injuries. The moment he had found her under the ruins, his words grew stronger. "Look at her, look at what cruelty has done. This is not strength, this is not survival, this is cowardice, this is abandonment." The galactic records accepted his broadcast. The files became public, spreading through channels across the Council's network. Ryan knew it was only a matter of time before they silenced him. But he kept speaking. "She is alive because a human chose not to turn away," he said firmly. "We are told not to interfere. We are told to stay silent, but silence in the face of cruelty is no better than the cruelty itself. I will not surrender her. I will not return her to those who left her behind. She has called me her protector, and I will stand by." That name, the comms console blinked. Multiple channels were opening, some filled with static, others with voices, shocked, angry, or horrified. The galaxy had heard him, and the Council would not be able to bury the truth so easily. Alarms rang. The AI announced, "Commander, hostile fleet closing, interception, imminent." Ryan turned sharply to the medbed. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. She whispered softly, her voice trembling but filled with trust. "Safe?" Ryan nodded, his voice iron. "Yes, I'll keep you safe." The ship shook as alien cruisers came into range, their weapons locked, targeting systems lighting up his display. He could see the gleam of their hulls through the viewport, massive warships surrounding his tiny vessel like wolves cornering prey. The comms crackled. A cold alien voice filled the cabin. "Human vessel, You have violated council law, surrender the defective one, and your death will be swift. Ryan's jaw tightened. He activated his own channel, his voice sharp as steel. No, there was silence for a heartbeat, then laughter. Mocking, cruel. You defy the council? You protect trash? Ryan's hand hovered over the controls. His ship's weapons were weak compared to theirs, but his resolve was unbreakable. He spoke one last time, loud enough for every channel listening to hear. She is not trash. She is not cursed. She is a life. And if you want her, you'll have to come through me. The girl, barely strong enough to sit up, reached out her small hand and touched his arm. Her lips formed the human word again, soft but clear. Dad. The word hit him harder than any enemy fire. For a moment, Ryan's throat closed, his vision blurred. But then fire filled his veins, stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. The alien fleet opened fire. Blinding light filled the darkness. Ryan pulled hard on the controls, weaving through barrages. His ship shook, alarms blared, but he kept his focus sharp. Each move was fueled not by orders, not by duty, but by the small hand clutching his sleeve. The council could threaten, the aliens could hunt, but Ryan had already made his stand. He would not abandon her. He would not bend. Humanity's voice had been heard, and it carried the weight of a promise no law could break. The stars shook. With fire, Ryan's ship darted through beams of light as alien warships unleashed their fury. Explosions burst around him. The shields groaned under the strain. Warning alarms screamed across the cockpit. But Ryan's grip on the controls never faltered. His eyes burned with determination. His heart burned with something stronger than fear. He was not fighting for orders, he was fighting for her. The girl sat strapped to the med bed, her frail body trembling with each violent shake of the ship. Yet her wide eyes never left Ryan. She clutched the blanket tight, whispering the word that had become her anchor. Dad. The word gave Ryan strength. He pulled hard on the thrusters, diving between two massive cruisers. Their guns fired too late, missing him by inches. His small explorer ship danced through the chaos like a stubborn spark refusing to be extinguished. Commander, the AI warned. Shields at 20%, hull integrity failing, escape impossible. Ryan gritted his teeth. Escape is never impossible. He slammed a hand on the console, activating an old override, one the council had forbidden. Emergency. Broadcast beacon surged. His earlier transmission to the galactic records had already lit the galaxy with his defiance. Now he amplified it, sending his live feed to every channel across the known worlds. The galaxy watched as Ryan's ship weaved through death. Watched. The child clinging to life watched the human standing against impossible odds. His voice carried across the stars, raw and unshaken. They want to erase her, he shouted. They want to silence me, but the truth is already out. This child is not cursed, she is not trash, she is proof of cruelty, and proof of hope. If a single human can stand for her, then anyone can. The comms exploded with voices. Alien captains arguing, civilians shouting, sympathizers weeping. Some cursed his defiance, others cheered it. The council could no longer control the story. It was in every home, every port, every world that listened. The alien fleet surrounded Ryan, weapons glowing, preparing for the final strike. But in that moment, something unexpected happened. Several ships broke formation, their weapons powered down, their comms filled the cabin. Human. We will not fire, one captain said. We cannot follow such cruelty. Ryan's chest tightened. The galaxy was watching, and the tide was shifting. The council demanded obedience. But the truth he had shown cut deeper than fear. With hesitation spreading in the enemy lines, Ryan seized the moment. He pushed the ship into a narrow gap, blasting forward with every ounce of power left. The shields flickered, sparks rained across the cockpit. But the ship broke free. Stars stretched ahead, wide and endless. Alarms still screamed, but Ryan barely heard them. His eyes turned back to the girl. She was weak, her body shaking, but her lips curved into the faintest smile. Her voice, soft as breath, carried across the room, home, safe. Ryan's throat tightened. He knelt beside her, holding her small hand in his glove. Yes, He whispered, "You're home now, with me." For the first time since he had found her, the girl's eyes glowed with something brighter than fear. It was trust, complete and unbroken. Days passed. The galaxy erupted with debate. Some worlds condemned him, others hailed him as a hero. The council issued threats, but they no longer had silence to protect them. Every system had heard the truth. Every child abandoned by tradition now had a voice because one human had refused to stay quiet. Ryan repaired his ship piece by piece, scavenging parts from old outposts, but his most important task was caring for her. He fed her, taught her small human words, showed her the stars from the viewport. She pointed at them with wide eyes, whispering names in her own tongue. Together they created new meanings, hers for memory, his for hope. One evening, as the ship drifted through a quiet stretch,